I initially met Sagon Penn when I was teaching at the Jackie Robinson YMCA. At that time, I was, as I am now, teaching the Korean art, military or martial art of Taekwondo.
Turn. Now what's pointing at you? My what? Rear, sir. My butt. That's the poppy move.
In his training, he learned to defend himself against singular as well as multiple attackers. Much of the time in fighting in class, he would fight as many as 5 individuals at one time. He also learned to take individuals on who were armed with knives, chains, sticks, clubs, you name it, various kinds of weapons. And he was very, very adept. In fact, he also participated in tournament martial art. And he was one of the nation's top martial artists. He was indeed one of the consistent winners on a national basis and on a state level basis in literally every single contest he entered.
If I'm standing here, it allows me, quick moment, here. Pacho! Pacho! Okay?
And when he made the decision to take a life based on his own personal interpretation that his life was in danger, he was of the impression that he had to do what he did to save his life. It had nothing to do with pride, had nothing to do with anything except survival.
He just don't do things like that. He don't do things like that, you know. He never been in no trouble. So he's always good, peaceful, never getting in no fights or anything like that.
The suspect and his grandfather came in, and his grandfather said that his grandson wanted to turn himself in.
Did he say for what?
He just said that he had shot an officer.
At this point, I don't see that who threw the first blow or how the thing started is really that important. The events occurred, the officers were shot, the civilian was shot, and the man turned himself in a short time later.
I believe that every person should have a right to a fair trial. It is not my place to make judgments. The police department investigated this situation. The district attorney charged the man with murder.
And what is your plea? Not guilty, sir. Do you have a right to a trial within 60 days of the time that the information was filed? Do you waive that time?
Yes, sir.
Daddy, my daddy, do you ever get scared? Why do people want to hurt you when you go out there? Well, little darling, he said, God's watching me. I'll always be careful. I promise you'll see.
None of us will ever forget the 9 times that this has happened in the last 10 years, or the men and women who have given their lives to support the people of this community and to uphold the laws of our city, our state, and our country.
I think it's a pretty big struggle because the people of my generation do not sympathize too much with Mr. Penn because they don't understand. They don't understand the situation. But I try to.
I could see by this case because I knew Sagon personally, and I knew he wasn't a person, evil that just go off on somebody. So I know they must have done something really bad to him because he wouldn't have done that. So I guess, it's doing the right thing by everybody coming out here and supporting him because he was a good person and he got done wrong.
I personally want to thank everybody for being here and for showing support, not just for the Riggs family, but for the families of all of the officers who have given their lives in the line of duty.
How about the people in the neighborhood? Aren't they important too, Chief Kolender?
I hope you're the people in the neighborhood. I don't know what he's talking about.
I can answer the question. I'm concerned.
Anyway, one heckler out of several hundred, no biggie.
Can I smell his breath? I can get 3.
Hey, why don't you film something else? Come on.
We hope that we will all come together and find out what can we do to mend these differences. Does the color of your skin has to make a difference whether or not you're human? Does the color of your skin designate pain or love? Does the color of your skin means I'm better than you or less than you, regardless of what happened? These vigils are being held all over right now. I mean, I understand that they're having one at 7, and they're in mourning for the son that's dead. I'm in mourning for mine that's being killed, or almost killed.
This is the verdict with regard to count 1, the charge of first-degree murder. The verdict reads, we, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Sagon Penn, not guilty of the crime of first-degree murder. It's one of those cases that should be retried, and we've made our decision based upon what we think is a prosecutable case. We're going to have a different jury, and I think that'll make a big difference.
Today, the Sagon Penn Defense Committee is presenting petitions to the District Attorney's Office demanding that all charges against Sagon Penn be dropped immediately. Getting these signatures was extremely easy. All we had to do was ask. In fact, people thanked us for giving them the opportunity to sign the petition and to express their opposition to the retrial of Sagon Penn.
Now, when you have a case like Sagon Penn, a case of a black man who killed a police officer in San Diego, who was acquitted by a jury of first-degree murder, that is incredible. It's too incredible to allow a black man to get away with the murder of a police officer, so he must be retried, even though in the first trial the verdict was 11-1 for acquittal on the lesser charges.
Escape! 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 When we headed for home from the park that day, we had no intention that this day would stay with me in the others for the rest of our lives. Cause what happened that day just wasn't right. Because me, Rick, and Joe got a big surprise. When all we really wanted was to catch a ride. Was this meant to be, or was it just bad luck? What Rick and I witnessed on the back of a truck. Cause when they pulled Penn over and that's his ID, the rest of that story is history. Escape! Escape! Escape!
So that proved we're just a band group, you know. We're just a rap group, singing group, or whatever you want to call it. And I guess because they saw, because Ricky had a jacket on that said the Mighty Key Gang on the back of the truck, the time of the incident happened, that was why they said gang.
They probably just seen. The reason they said gang is because they saw a lot of black young kids, and that's why they said.
They probably seen just letters on the back of my jacket because gang is like this. Mighty Key Gang, Mighty Key is like this, and the gang is like this.
My attention focused on one individual in the bed of the truck. He had a black golf type hat on and a black shirt.
Did that mean anything to you as any relationship to any gang?
Those are colors and type of hat as a gang type hat, and the colors indicate crib.
They told us to get off the truck, you know. So one of the cops, which one it was, I don't know, asked us to get off the truck. And I said, oh, okay. So everybody jumped off, you know. And I remember one of them walking up to Sagon asking for his ID.
He held out his wallet.
And what did you do when he held out his wallet?
I said I couldn't take his wallet, that I needed to see his driver's license.
What did he do?
He said similar to the license is in the wallet.
What did you say?
I said I can't take the wallet, I need to see your driver's license.
The second time saying that, what did he do?
I think I requested it again for the license, and then he turned around and started to walk away.
Sagon looked like he got frustrated with them questioning him to the extent kept, you know, he just wanted, here's the ID. I'm not a crook, you know. Take my ID. It's not like I committed a murder or something, you know. And then all of a sudden, he turned in frustration, and they pulled him back around. I mean, Jacobs, not they. Jacobs twirled him around, and Sagon backed up. All of a sudden, sticks began to swinging and flowing.
Well, Sunday afternoon, I was watching TV. My girl looked out the window. Now, what did she see? She saw two officers in Sagon Penn and a truckload yes of the rest of my friends. She said, hey, look, baby, something just ain't right. Those two officers and their brother go fight. Then Penn turned away in his frustration, trying to avoid the situation. The two officers, they reacted quick and didn't hesitate to use the stick because they was beating them down.
Sagon wasn't saying that, but why was they beating him up? And he was holding his hands like this, asking them why was they beating him up? For no reason.
You were on top of Mr. Penn, and that they heard you say while you were on top of Mr. Penn, striking him with your fists. You think you're bad, boy, I'm going to beat your black ass? Or you think you're bad, nigger, I'm going to beat your black ass? Words to that effect. Those aren't words that you would say.
No, they are not.
And you're sure you didn't say them?
I'm positive I did not say them. I know myself real well.
He said, put your hands behind your back or I'm going to kick your ass or something.
Well, that's the first time you've ever testified to that.
Well, that's because I just, I'm recalling it in my mind, and that's what I heard.
Everything they said was like, you black mother effer, and it was just black, and nigger, and it wasn't nothing nice in there.
All right, it's not nice, or whatever you want to use the word, to see uniformed police officers, people that other people respect, using profanity. I say now that's a bad image for us to have. But we got a tough job to do out there, and there's a lot of tools that we can use in getting that job done. And part of that is to use professional profanity. And if you can use a key word here and there to keep a situation from getting out of hand or from having to make an arrest, let's use that word, that professional profanity, instead.
The main problem in San Diego, as I see it, is racism. The police department is inundated with racist, bigots, and project white racists. I can't say this in court because I mentioned racism and they get all upset. We are the victims of racism. We can utter the word that comes out of my mouth. I recognize a racist as soon as I recognize a bee flying in front of my face. I know the difference. We know the difference. We eat, live, and die in the difference.
I asked them what they're afraid they're going to lose their job, beating that man like that in front of all these witnesses.
Did you say anything else?
I asked them, is that how they got the stripes on their shoulder? Beating people upside the head.
Did you say anything else?
Not that I can remember. I asked the lady to go call some other officers so that they could see what was going on.
When Smitty had said that, I was already on the phone calling. I was right there on the phone, and it's like I didn't know what to say. I did not know what to say.
For the minority community, again, it's no illusion that it's an us against them feeling. And that is one that was initiated by the police department. When you talk about possible solutions, you always hear them talk about continuing education. Well, when they talk about education, they talk about the community. The minority community has been educated. We know wrong when we feel it. Educate some of those other people in terms of what is proper police conduct in the minority community.
He was attacking Officer Riggs and you hit him four or five times, and you don't recall him having any reaction to it?
That's what I recall.
And you hit him as hard as you could?
I hit him hard, not as hard as I could, but I did hit him hard.
Okay. What was your objective in hitting?
Cause him to cease the attack on Tom.
It was basically Officer Jacobs, and the driver who was in the actual scuffle.
Boom! I couldn't believe it. He punched me, and then the other one, he started coming at me. I said, please, don't. What's going on? Why you guys doing this? What's the matter? I didn't do nothing. What's the matter? And then the other one, I couldn't believe it. He reached down into his holster and pulled out the billy club. And I said, wow, I can't believe it. Like, Like, if he wanted to just kill me, he just could have just shot me and put me on my misery if he, like, he hates me or something for whatever reason. But then he just seemed like they was trying to kill me, but they wanted me to feel a lot of pain first.
There was one officer sitting on top of him, holding him down and hitting him at the same time.
Was that Officer Jacob?
Yes, it was.
And did you observe Officer Riggs?
Yes, he was standing above him.
Did you observe what he was doing?
Yes, he was hitting him with a stick.
The officer that was on top of him, straddling him, he said, "You think you're bad? You think you're bad? Nigger, I'm gonna beat your ass."
You honestly thought that the officers were going to kill Mr. Penn right there in front of 50 people?
Yes.
You honestly did believe that?
Yes, I mean, the way they were beating him.
So when you say that wasn't called for or something like that, you don't really know what preceded that. In other words, what went before it?
No, I mean, a guy walking back, back this way, an officer comes, straddle him, and just beat him. Is that the way they protect and serve?
The police in America theoretically belong to the people. It's been said before, and I echo that sentiment. We are the people's police. We are all the people's police. We are the police of people of color. We are the police. I find it interesting that these words antagonize and anger. They are human beings. They are not pigs. And they are very fine human beings. They are very fine human beings for the most part.
So what's that?
And
They come to our neighborhood, then they become pigs.
The crowd had moved within inches of my face, and I remember thinking that I was going to get my face kicked in by somebody in the crowd.
Did it appear to be a hostile crowd?
I recall thinking about it and thinking that it was hostile, yes. Nobody was helping me.
You thought they were a hostile crowd?
I remember thinking that, yes.
Do you know what might have caused them to be hostile?
I don't know.
Were they yelling something like "kill the pigs" or "snuff the honkies" or anything along those kinds of lines?
I don't remember what they said. I just remember thinking they were hostile.
Beating him down, they had him on the ground, sitting on his chest, and hit him short way to conclude the rest. Something happened that wasn't expected, and there's no way that he could detect it. So what he had to do was just accept it. Can't look in a mirror cause it ain't reflected. He grabbed that gun and got self-protected, cause that was his life and he couldn't neglect it. Escape! 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 Escape!
Officer Jacobs had the driver around the neck with his clothing, and the driver had the pistol pointed up between his arms, and he had it at a lower level and then moved it, and he moved it several times upward.
I remember seeing his face and the gun in a flash.
And you got shot in both sides of there?
Yes.
The police officer with the blonde hair was on your chest, had his hand on your throat, and holding one arm, you took his gun from him. You shot which officer first?
When I had the gun on him, the one standing right there kicked my arm. And that one that was over me punched me in my face.
And which one?
The last one off.
Which one did you shoot first?
The last one off on the one that was on top of me when the one kicked me.
The blonde hair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got the cap dropped on him first?
Don't put nothing like that.
Well, you say blast, I say shot. We're going to have to agree on the word here.
I'm just agreeing on what I just said.
Okay.
We made the call. Angela made the call. She got hysterical in the middle of the call. Passed the phone to Daria. Daria got hysterical. That's when the fire shot off. Dropped the phone. And I drug Angie and pushed Daria out of the way of the doorway because they stand in the middle of the doorway. Bullets have no name on them.
We had eye contact, and then the next thing that I looked at was the barrel of the gun. And I knew he was going to shoot me in the face. So I turned to my right, away from the gun, so that,
Why did you do that?
because I didn't want to get shot in the face.
The woman in the car, I don't even know where her mind is, and if she's thinking the same way these two is thinking. So then that's why that happened. That happened with her. Boom, boom.
But we stared at each other for a second or two.
Boom, boom.
Yes.
Okay.
We need help.
engine, car engine revving.
Yeah, what's going through your mind at that time?
I thought that I was going to be run over.
What happened then?
So I got run over. This is the first time I felt any pain. I felt like my chest was crushed, and I remember thinking that the cavalry was going to get there soon.
Escape! 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 Then jumped in the car to make a quick getaway. Then on the way to Grandpa's house to God, he did pray. Lost and confused, got committed a sin. Grandpa did the right thing. And everyone turn yourself in. So down to the station, he was shaking like hell because he had shot a cop and was headed for jail.
And when he told me that, when he had to do it in self-defense, then I said, well, then you want to go turn yourself in?
What did he say?
He said, yeah. So I opened up the door and looked out the door, and the police car was sitting in front of my driveway there with the lights blinking. So I told him, you got to move the police car in order for me to get out of my car out the driveway there, see. So he went out and moved the police car out the driveway there, and he come back, and he said, there's a gun in the police car, we're going to turn it in too, see. So I told him, I said, no, I said, leave that there, we don't take nothing. So we got in my car and came on down to the police station, and he turned himself in.
99.5% of the population would have been controlled in this situation by the police officers. Who's creating the problem? Sagon Penn.
Everywhere that Donovan Jakes goes, there's danger. Whether it's there when he starts or not, if it ain't there, he'll make it. He'll make it a hot time in the old town tonight because he's out there getting the job done. Wearing that badge.
You have got to stand off and look at the evidence and the testimony that you've heard and seen and make a determination based on that, without these things, without these emotions, without prejudice, without passion.
Well, Dr. King, the dream is here. We may not have reached the promised land yet, but we have, as Americans, turned our backs on bigotry and hatred and race prejudice and the image of a police officer sitting on top of a black man, beating him in the face, telling him as if he's a nigger and that he's going to beat his black ass. We've turned our back on that.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't let himself be handcuffed. And that's when the penultimate event occurred, when he was trying to handcuff him. He led Jacobs into believing he was submitting. Jacobs got the handcuffs, the gun came out, and the shots were fired.
And 3 or 4 adult people there believed that he was going to be killed. And ladies and gentlemen, when you have to call the police to stop the police, then you have a rather poor society indeed.
Yes, there is a system of justice in San Diego. Yes, there is guilt in the Sagon Penn case. And yes, Sagon Penn is guilty.
The verdict, CR 74094 in the People of the State of California versus Sagon Penn. Verdict: we, the jury in the above entitled case, find the defendant Sagon Penn not guilty of the crime of voluntary manslaughter in violation of Penal Code Section 192 as charged in the amended information, victim Thomas Riggs. Dated July 10, 1987, signed Howard C. McDowell. Verdict:
Mr. Scott, how do you feel? I'm an exhilarating case for you.
What do you think the jury said?
I figured he's been acquitted of it. myself.
Look, everyone is scarred and hurt, and the man's dead, the one's wounded, the kid is wounded also. How can you say a victory?
I feel that justice was not served. Because Sagon Penn is a black man, he is free today. If he were white, I think he would have been charged, found guilty of all the crimes committed.
The fact that Sagon Penn was found not guilty on those counts does not make Donovan Jacobs guilty.
We've been through 2 years of this. The jury in this instance had ample opportunity to air all of the facts of the case, and they came to a conclusion that Penn was not guilty after almost a month's deliberation. And I think at this point that it would be wise on our part not to go forward for a third time.
And we laughed together some days and cried together some days, and it all comes out in the end that it worked, that he wasn't guilty. And if he had been, we would have found him guilty. And I think the community needs to get behind us now and say the decision has been made, like Mike and Debbie and the rest of them have said, and stand behind us and say, you were there, you heard it all, you witnessed the whole thing, and you've made your decision. Now let's go on and let's make San Diego a better place for our kids to grow up in just a better place to live.
A long time since I saw him smile, but he had a big smile on his face, in other words, that when he had the charges had been dropped there. So it really made me feel good, and he felt good too. So I like to see him smile because it's been very solemn in a long time.
But I can say, since that time, Sagon has maintained the dignity that has always been there and that he has learned in training. And I'm very proud of him. And I think that everyone who knew him remains extraordinarily proud of him.
Escape! Cold world. Escape! Escape! Cold world, y'all. Escape! Cold world. Escape! 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 Cause it's a cold world we're living in. Cold world. Brother, can I trust you as a friend? Cold world. A cold world. A cold world started a wedding. Cold world we're living in.